On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla and EV podcast, Tesla has set a new quarterly record for deliveries as the federal EV tax credit sunsets. I'll walk you through the numbers and what analysis we can take away from it. Plus, the new Model Y Performance debuts in North America with an unexpected bonus, new details on the more affordable Model Y Standard leak from Tesla's own website, and more. What's happening, friends? With Lily the silly Labrador puppy at my feet and Daisy the boxer looking longingly out the window to my left, this is Ride the Lightning, your weekly Tesla unofficial podcast, episode 531, publishing on October 5th, 2025. Well, the Q3 is complete, the big Q3, end of the tax credit. I have all the numbers for you. I'm going to get to those in just a minute. There is plenty to talk about there. But I actually wanted to start with some other numbers that Tesla shared this week, and they come from the Tesla charging team, the supercharging group. They posted some fun stats for their Q3 over on their X page, and I thought I would share those. One of them in particular is the super fun one that jumps out. So let's go through them, not entirely one by one. They've got 5 figures. I just want to talk about a few of them. But they did say that they opened 4,000 new supercharger stalls. So that's not stations, not like entire stations, but individual posts. But 4,000 of them in the 3-month period that was Q3. That is incredibly impressive to me. I mean, I know they probably can't sustain that pace forever because, by the way, for context, that is 18% year-over-year network growth. That's a lot. It's basically like opening 7 stalls in Q3 for every 6 that they opened in Q3 last year. And that adds up quickly. But boy, that is a lot of supercharging stalls. That is awesome. Love to see that. Congratulations / thank you to the Tesla charging team. They also delivered a total from the superchargers into vehicles 1.8 terawatt hours of electricity delivered into cars. That's a 29% year-over-year growth. Just massive, crazy number of year-over-year growth there. But I think that's quite simply just means more cars are using the network. And yes, more of those cars are Teslas, obviously, since there are roughly 1.7 million more Teslas out there compared to Q3 of last year. But the thing to keep in mind here is this figure is also factoring in all of the non-Tesla EVs that are now joining the supercharging network. And thus, I think this growth number, crazy as it may seem, 29% year over year, may actually be sustainable for quite a while, because more and more non-Teslas are going to join the network, both in terms of other manufacturers releasing new EVs, but also just people, customers, buying other EVs from other manufacturers as well. And then finally, there's a couple more stats. There's gasoline saved, there's quarterly charging sessions, but the figure at the bottom of the chart is what I want to skip to here, and that is 50,000 Tesla burgers. That's how many burgers that they sold, or if you want to phrase it another way, delivered to customers. You can, to use the rest of the terminology, or I should say consistent terminology, 50,000 Tesla burgers sold. That seems like a lot, particularly when you remember that the Tesla diner didn't even open at the very beginning of Q3. It opened 3 weeks into Q3, specifically on July 21st. In fact, I went back and checked, and the diner was open for a total of 72 days out of basically 90 in Q3. That means they served an average of 694 Tesla burgers per day. Almost 700 burgers per day. Now, to be fair and honest here, I have absolutely no idea how that compares to the In-N-Out burgers, which we have out here in California, so I think that's a fair apples-to-apples comparison. I imagine In-N-Out probably does a lot more burgers than the 694, just a single In-N-Out location, but still, I don't know how it compares to McDonald's or any of the other fast food joints, but an average of 694 burgers per day, 50,000 of them in the quarter. That to my layman lizard brain, that sounds pretty darn crazy in the very best of ways. And I will say, I did my part. I ate 2 of those 50,000 burgers that were served this past quarter. I genuinely, this is no sarcasm, I honestly hope that Tesla keeps publicizing the burger stat every quarter. Like, I now want to know. I want to know how many burgers that the Tesla diner is serving every quarter. And that stat will only get more fun over time as Tesla hopefully opens more Tesla diners around the country and eventually around the world. So Tesla, if you're listening, please keep that burgers served stat coming. I mean, hey, McDonald's for decades, in fact, there may even still be McDonald's locations that do this. For decades, McDonald's had on the sign, it would be an overall tally of how many burgers they'd served since the company's inception. Like it was, 1 billion burgers served or whatever it was. Tesla can do the same thing here in their quarterly report from the Tesla charging team on X, and I hope that they will do exactly that. Next up, let's get to the main story. I mean, we've all been anticipating this end of quarter and what the number was going to be. Well, we have the numbers now. Tesla's Q3 production and delivery numbers are in, and the company has set a new all-time record for deliveries specifically. So, as always here, I will read you Tesla's typical short and sweet press release. It reads, in the third quarter, we produced over 447,000 vehicles, delivered over 497,000 vehicles, and deployed 12.5 gigawatt hours of energy storage products, a record for both deliveries and deployments. Thank you to all of our customers, employees, suppliers, shareholders, and supporters who helped us achieve these results. So let's, as I always like to do here, let's put some of this into context. The previous deliveries record had come in Q4 of last year, 2024, and that number was 495,570. So Tesla just barely edged that out this quarter, but they did. They set a new record. Sadly, just couldn't quite roll the odometer over to 500,000, which would have just been an awesome milestone number to hit. I'm sure eventually Tesla will hit that. Maybe this Q4, maybe the quarter we're starting now. Let's talk about that in a minute, but inevitably at some point down the road, once Cybercab goes into production, etc. And if Tesla Semi starts materially adding to this as well. So that's some optimism there that 500,000 is in a quarter is a when, not an if. But anyway, Q3 last year, if you want to look year over year, was 462,890. So this Q3, Tesla beat that by over 7%. That's a lot. That's a lot of cars. Now, obviously, there's a massive discrepancy there between production and deliveries. That probably jumped out at you when I read you those numbers, because it sure as heck jumped out at me when I read them. And if you think 7% is a lot, and it is when we're talking about these kinds of numbers, the discrepancy is in fact 11% more cars delivered in Q3 than were produced. For context, last quarter, the script was actually flipped. There were 6.8% more cars produced than delivered. And if we go year over year, last year in Q3, it was again flipped, but almost even, with just 1.5% more cars produced than delivered. So clearly an outlier this quarter, as we all anticipated. It makes sense given the sunsetting of that $7,500 federal tax credit. What clearly seems to have happened is that Tesla just blew out their inventory. Everything they produced in the quarter and everything they already had on hand. Now, of course, despite the record quarter, what happened the next day, or actually the day of, because the results, those numbers were given at 7 a.m. Pacific, so basically right when the stock market opened on Thursday of this past week, because it was the second of the month. That's Tesla always gives these numbers on the second of the month. I guess unless it's a Sunday maybe, but anyway. So the market opened, and what happened after Tesla gave these record quarter numbers? Well, the stock dropped by about 5%. It was over $23 a share that it went down on the day that those numbers were announced, and then it closed the week down another few bucks as well, closing the week at $429.83. If you're following the stock stuff, which had been really good lately. Stock's been on quite a rise, quite a roll, but these past couple days it did screech to a halt and skid in the other direction a little bit. Now, by the way, before I continue analyzing this, if you remember a couple weeks ago, I made this the subject of the Patreon poll for a couple of episodes ago. So I want to say now, officially, congratulations to the 19% of you in that poll who voted in the group 476,000 to 500,000. So the folks that chose that was basically 1 in 5 of you, 19% of you chose that. You folks were correct. That one came in third place in that poll. So the range just below that, 451,000 to 475,000, won the poll with 27% of the vote. And then a little lower still, 401 to 450,000 was next at 20%, just barely ahead of that, in hindsight, winning group there at 476,000 to 500,000. The 10% of you that said over 500,000, my heart is with you. You were this close to being correct on that one. Now, I think I had said on that podcast just 2 weeks ago, episode 529, I believe I said that I thought they would set a record, but I think I took the over 500,000. So I guess I was maybe half right on that. But that is still just a super impressive number. Not only a record quarter overall, obviously a huge record for Q3. That's a Q3 mark that's probably going to stand for quite some time. Not if, but when Tesla beats that quarter in any quarter, it's likely to occur in a Q4, whether that's, again, this year, next year, year after. But that Q3 record is likely to stand for at least a little while. What an effort by the entire Tesla team across manufacturing, across certainly the delivery teams out there that had to deliver so many more cars than the company even produced. Just fantastic work. I salute all of you for going the extra mile to get people their cars in time for that tax credit. Now, by the way, we'll get to this week's Patreon poll just a little bit later in the podcast. So my final point that I want to make on the quarterly numbers here is what's next? That's the big question from here. Okay, the tax credit's gone. What's next? What does Q4 look like? Now, I'm sure I'll do a poll on it at some point. Heck, maybe I should do it for this week's new poll so that we get everybody, including me, to weigh in good and early in the quarter before we start to see how things are unfolding. But I absolutely think that Q4 is not going to meet or even let alone beat Q3. I expect that Q3 will be the biggest quarter this year. In fact, it's just a question of how close can it get. I think it's how can it approach that 497,000 deliveries. We'll see. I mean, the thing is, I'm sure that Tesla has some tricks up its sleeve because, well, we know a few of them. Where we are now, we know that there are multiple Model Y variants coming. More on those in a minute. We know Tesla's got some tricks up its sleeve, but short of the more affordable, stripped down E41 codename Model Y Standard becoming available for order immediately and delivering super soon, like delivering in the next couple weeks, which could happen, by the way. That is in play. I mean, it just doesn't seem likely since Tesla is launching the new Model Y Performance here in North America in December. More on all of that in just a moment. That's the next big story. And the other thing we have to keep in mind too is, in reality, just bigger picture, zoom it out. You know how I like to do that. 97% of the cars that Tesla sells just got $7,500 more expensive. At least for the overwhelming majority of the buyers of those cars. Might Tesla cut their prices, which they did do last time the tax credit expired? It is certainly possible, and I hope they do, though it's probably unlikely to be by the full $7,500, given the fact that the cars have already come down a lot in price over the last few years, and Tesla's margins per car are thinner than they were back in 2019 when the tax credit went away last time. I'm kind of just most curious, even more than the numbers themselves and what those will be for Q4, I'm most curious to see how Tesla plays this, because they've obviously had months to plan for it. Speaking of how Tesla will choose to play it, that's kind of what this week's Lightning Round bonus mini episode was all about on Patreon. It was about my 5 strategy suggestions for Tesla in a post-tax credit America. So I hope all of you who are kindly supporting me on Patreon at that $10 per month tier, which is the tier where you get access to all 162 now of those Lightning Round weekly bonus mini episodes. Check that out on Patreon. And if you're not already supporting me on Patreon, I hope that maybe you'll consider doing so. If you enjoy this podcast every week, I do put my heart, my soul, a lot of time, a lot of thought, effort, energy, and research into it. So if you see it in your heart to support me on Patreon, one of the ways that I try to say thank you is by offering that extra content like those weekly bonus mini episodes. I also offer ad-free episodes and early access to each week's episode as well. All of that is available at that $10 per month tier. Even if you just want to do the $5 per month tier, you still get the early access and the ad-free. So do check out my Patreon page if you get a chance. I'd be humbled and grateful if you'd check that out. You can find it by either clicking the link in the episode description or going to patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. I mentioned the Model Y Performance because, yes, the new Model Y Performance is now available to order in North America. Interestingly, it arrived a day earlier than I thought it might, in a very interesting and I would argue shrewd move on Tesla's part. They made it available to order in the late afternoon Pacific time on September 30th, the last day of the quarter, thereby giving anybody who wanted to get one and still get the tax credit mere hours to lock in their order. And I will say, they were not trying to hide it. They definitely wanted people to see this. They wanted a bunch of orders. This was not one of those, if you happen to be lucky enough to hear about it online thing. Tesla actually sent out an email blast to everyone on their mailing list, letting people know about it. So let's get into it. It starts at $57,500 pre-tax credit price, which for the majority of buyers are going to be paying the the non-tax credit price. $57,500, but deliveries don't start until December, though. So that really tells you that Tesla is 100% gaming the tax credit loophole of sorts here to try and get as many tax credit eligible orders as possible. And again, I don't blame them. I mean, they're likely trying to boost the Q4 number by sneaking in a surge of excited Model Y performance buyers who, again, want to sneak that tax credit onto their purchase. And they're doing that probably because they are expecting the Q4 post-tax credit number for deliveries to be lower, to be a tougher number. So what we can say, and what we can at least look at the past to see, is that historically, the performance variant of any car, but in particular the 3 and the Y, and I would probably say especially of the Y, their top-selling car, the performance variant is the lowest selling Model Y variant by far. It's not even close. However, in this case, Tesla figures that they can capitalize on everybody who's been waiting for it, since obviously the new Model Y has been out for, 6, 7, at least in the US, 6, 7 months now, I guess about 6 months. And plenty of people have been waiting for that Model Y performance. So they can capitalize on the folks who've just been waiting. And then in addition, although there's certainly probably a large Venn diagram overlap, but the folks that just like the idea of buying one with the tax credit for the hours it was available on September 30th, if they happen to check their email or log online. I mean, think about it this way. With Tesla doing this, if you can wait until December for delivery, since that's, again, that they're not going to start delivering the Performance Ys until December, you can get a Model Y Performance, and you can get it for just $1,000 more than the Model Y long-range all-wheel drive is now without the tax credit. So in other words, if you were thinking about buying a Model Y, and you were thinking, yeah, I think I'll, down in maybe a few months or 6 months or whatever, I'll get one, and I know the tax credit's ending, but okay, I'm not ready for a car. In this case, Tesla throws this out there and says, well, for less than 1 day only, you can get the Model Y Performance, which has plenty of perks and benefits, for just $1,000 more than the long-range all-wheel drive will be when you were ordinarily thinking of ordering a car in, again, 3 months, 6 months, whatever. So I think that probably tipped a lot of people over the edge. And certainly I think a lot of enthusiasts or people just tempted by the performance version would take that deal as well. Although I guess it actually kind of is the same price because so it's not even really $1,000 more. It's kind of the same price in that September 30th window that is already closed at this point when everybody's hearing this, and for that matter, when I'm recording it. And I say same price because the tow package on the Model Y, which costs $1,000, is included in the performance version. And just like the Model 3 Performance, white interior is no extra charge if you decide you want to choose that. And for the moment, again, just like the Model 3 Performance, every paint color is included as well, in the sense that you don't have to pay extra for any of the paint colors. By the way, I came pretty close. I have to give myself a little half pat on the back. I came pretty close on my most recent price prediction for the new Model Y Performance. I went back and looked it up. It was 5 episodes ago, episode 526, and I said, therefore, it's likely to be $58,000 or $59,000 here in the US because the long-range all-wheel drive version is $49,000. So looking at the split in the Chinese market, the European market, which is where the Model Y Performance debuted. So came pretty close. I said 58 or 59, and it's 57.5, and I'm happy to be wrong in the sense that I overshot it rather than undershot it. Although, while I'm giving myself a half pat on the back, I have to just immediately take that away because I was wrong about another prediction. What else is new? And that was, I had said I thought that Glacier Blue paint would come to North America at the same time that the new Model Y Performance did. That still hasn't happened. We are still waiting on the Glacier Blue paint over here. Anyway, back to more important things on the new Model Y Performance. The range. You're probably curious, Ryan, what is the range? Tell me. It's 306 miles, which isn't quite as impressive as the, I guess, apparently poor translation that I had made from the European ratings. But it's still pretty impressive nonetheless, because it means that at 306, it gets better range than my car, the Model 3 Performance, despite the fact that the new Model Y Performance is on bigger wheels and it's a bigger, heavier car. So my car is rated for 298 miles on 20-inch wheels, and the new Model Y Performance 306 on 21s. Now, is 8 miles of range a huge amount? No, certainly not. But I think that when you factor in, again, heavier car and on bigger wheels, it is still pretty impressive. As for the 0 to 60, we already knew this, but it is 3.3 seconds, 0 to 60. Everything else is the same that we'd already talked about when this rolled out in Europe, which, as you'd expect, right? Actually, except for one thing that Tesla confirmed the very next day on October 1st. And this will be of interest to many of you, I think. Tesla posted on the official Tesla X account saying, quote, new Model Y Performance offers vehicle to load 120 volt, 20 amp AC with the Tesla outlet adapter, end quote. So to be very clear here, that's V2L, not V2G, vehicle to grid, or V2H, vehicle to home. So you're not going to be powering your house with this or charging up another Tesla, both of which you can do with the Cybertruck. But I have called for this feature, including, as I recall, pretty recently, saying that I thought it would be a great way for Tesla to further tip the scales to fence sitters to come on over to the EV side of things. Use your car to power stuff. So this is a great feature. This is very unexpected, pleasant, good news, even if it's not quite as awesome as the power your house in an outage sales pitch that certainly would have been an even more powerful more powerful message that Tesla could put out. But hey, you can buy a new Model Y Performance for $57,500, and then you can grab the $80 adapter from Tesla that plugs into the Model Y Performance's charge port, and then from there, you can plug in 2 120 volt household outlets. You can plug 2 items into those 120 volt household outlets. So for instance, maybe your garage fridge or freezer, if your power goes out and you don't have a power wall, as just one kind of random example of something that might already be in the garage where your Model Y Performance is. If you lose power for any extended amount of time, you can keep that stuff frozen in that garage freezer. My question is whether or not the new Model Y Performance has either additional hardware or just a new version of hardware that enables this vehicle to load functionality, or if this might be something that could theoretically come to all of the other current Teslas as well. I don't have the answer to that right now. But for now, it certainly adds to the already pretty healthy appeal of the new Model Y Performance. So I've got a few more thoughts here before I move on to the next topic, which, spoiler, is also Model Y related, just not Model Y Performance. But a few more thoughts. Apropos of nothing, I'll just say that my own opinion is I like this new Model Y Performance a lot better than the first generation Model Y Performance. I think it looks way better, and it clearly offers way more. which really not unlike the new Model 3 Performance in my garage compared to the old Model 3 Performance that we still have. But to a couple of points now that you might find useful or thought-provoking rather than just my opinion on the looks and appeal of the car, I will say this. $10 says that Tesla brings the Model Y L to North America sometime in the next couple of quarters. And the reason I say that is because the Model Y Performance is obviously the shiny new thing for now, here in this post-tax credit era. But once that car starts delivering in December, remember, Q1 is historically the slowest quarter, not just for Tesla, but for everybody. So that means that once the newness of the performance version wears off, Tesla's going to need more shiny new things to dangle in front of buyers without that tax credit there to shave $7,500 right off the top of the price. And actually, now that I think about that, now that I mention that, we also can't forget that way back in February, when Franz and Lars were on Jay Leno's Garage, Lars said on Jay's show that the 7-seat Model Y, the new version of it obviously, would be coming this year. He said the Performance and the 7-seater, well, Performance is coming in December, so that means, are we still getting the 7-seat option on the new Model Y this year, which would mean this quarter? Or might Tesla instead save that for a future quarter, whether it's Q2, Q3, what have you? Just, save it for kind of a quarterly drop, if you will. And don't forget, we're also still waiting on the more affordable variant, the E41 that I've been talking about on recent episodes. Stay tuned in just a moment for more on that. But what that means in summary is we're looking at 3 more variants that we are, at least that I'm expecting. I know Elon said that the Model Y L might not come over here at all, but let's just put it this way: 3 potential new variants in addition to the Model Y Performance that Tesla might still unveil. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla does roll them out roughly 1 per quarter. So Model Y Performance will debut in Q4, then maybe one of those other 3 in Q1, another in Q2, and another in Q3 of 2026 in some order. And I was trying to figure out, well, okay, what order would make sense if you're buying what I'm selling there, and maybe you're not. But if that were to be the plan, how would it go? Would it be the 7-seater in Q1, the L in Q2, and then after you've exhausted all of the demand for these more expensive, probably higher margin variants, then do you bring the cheaper, stripped-down E41 version in Q3? Or do you flip that? Would it be the cheaper version first in Q1, and then, hoping you've got plenty of demand for that, then just supplement and kind of keep demand rolling, just goose it as needed over the subsequent quarters next year with a 7-seater of the regular wheelbase with the Model Y L, So I don't know which way it could go. I could talk myself into any sort of any order of operations there, and I'm not sure which one might make the most sense. Well, now that we, by the way, officially now, here in the US at least, have 3 new Model Y wheel designs, the 19-inch Crossflow, the 20-inch Helix 2.0, and on the Model Y Performance, the 21-inch Arachnid 2.0, I decided to have a little fun with those wheel designs, because you guys know I love that stuff. And I made it the subject of this week's Patreon poll, where I simply asked you, which of the 3 designs is your favorite? And I kindly ask that you try your best to leave efficiency out of it, because I know that really is a significant factor for a lot of you, where It's just range is king, efficiency is king, so therefore you're going to take the most efficient wheel no matter what. But the thought exercise here was just to look at the design of them and vote that way. So thank you to over 230 of you that voted in this week's Patreon poll. So again, which new Model Y wheel design do you like best? And I can't say I'm surprised at the results here. The Arachnid 2.0s, I'm not the only one that loves them, clearly. 58% of you voted for the new Arachnid 2.0 wheels on the new Model Y Performance. And then you guys mirrored my opinion again. I guess I'm not alone on this. The 19-inch Crossflow wheels pretty steadily beat the Helix 2.0s. The 19-inch higher efficiency Crossflows, 23% of the vote, and then just 14% chose the Helix 2.0 as their favorite design. 3% said, I don't like any of them, and 2% said, I love them all and can't pick a favorite. So thank you very much to everybody that kindly took the time to vote in this week's Patreon poll. A friendly reminder, you don't have to be giving me a dime, you don't have to be supporting me at all on Patreon in order to vote in each week's Patreon poll. I make it open to the public, open to anybody. Just want you to stop by and cast your vote each week. So you can do that at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. And the new poll question typically goes up on Tuesday evenings. Okay, as I said, speaking of the new Model Y, the new Model Y Standard has leaked on Tesla's own website, and it is hinting at a $40,000 price point. I saw this on Drive Tesla Canada, who wrote, Tesla's long-anticipated, more affordable version of the Model Y may finally be on the horizon. A new Model Y Standard has quietly appeared in the source code of the company's website, giving us the clearest look yet at the more affordable variant that has been rumored for months. Although long rumored to be coming soon, the first official hints of this vehicle first surfaced last month when a software update revealed internal references to an E41 variant of the Model Y. At the time, the code pointed to a stripped-down configuration with fewer luxury features and simplified hardware. Now, this website appearance strongly suggests Tesla is getting closer to launching that very model, positioning it as the most affordable SUV in its lineup. Unlike the long-range and performance trims, the Model Y Standard introduces several exterior differences, according to a review of the source code by Tesla Newswire on X. Here we go, 4 items. Redesigned front fascia with a cleaner, simpler look. Single-part headlights that reduce component complexity. No front light bar, keeping costs down. And a closed roof design, aka no panoramic glass roof. It does, however, include a front bumper camera, something which is slowly integrating into Tesla's entire fleet. The Standard also rides on new 18-inch Aperture wheels, that's the name of them, a more efficiency-focused setup compared to Tesla's larger 19 or 20-inch options. To reach a lower entry price, Tesla has scaled back several interior features. Textile decor replaces premium wood or metal finishes. Manual steering wheel adjustment instead of powered controls. A 15.4-inch touchscreen, not the 16-inch new one that's in the new Model Y Performance. And no rear touchscreen for second-row passengers. Also, manually adjustable second-row air vents instead of the electronically controlled ones, because, of course, it doesn't have the screen assembly in there, so you've just got the manual vents, just like on the Generation 1 Model Y. And then the last item here listed is particulate air filter only, no HEPA-grade filter as found in other Model Ys. In other words, no bioweapon defense mode. So, and then the story continues on Drive Tesla Canada. Despite these changes, cargo capacity remains strong at 75 cubic feet, only slightly less than higher-end trims. The Model Y Standard appears in the code priced at $39,990, representing Tesla's most affordable SUV to date, slotting below the long-range and performance trims, targeting buyers who want to enter the Tesla ecosystem, but are less concerned with luxury add-ons. However, this price is just $5,000 below the long-range rear-wheel drive variant. Tesla could be using this as a placeholder, knowing it would be discovered prior to the official launch, which means the listed $39,990 starting price may not be final. But if Tesla manages to bring the final MSRP closer to the mid-$35K mark when it finally launches, the Model Y Standard could quickly become a big seller. Okay, so some of this we already knew from either the in real life sighting that I told you about, a month or so back, or we already knew from the green the only hacking that I told you about more recently. But some of this is new information, and let's start with the big one, the price. Now, I'm not sure if the Drive Tesla Canada folks are just trying to protect themselves against potential disappointment by saying, oh, well, maybe $39,990 is just a purposeful placeholder in Tesla because Tesla knows it'll leak. Well, maybe. I mean, I certainly hope they're right because, as I've said, I think, which clearly the Drive Tesla Canada folks thought as well, as you heard, $35K really is the magic number, in my opinion, for this stripped-down Model Y, this E41, the Model Y Standard. Now, we now have confirmation that there's no front light bar and that the headlights are different, which does mean that it will be obvious just by looking at this vehicle that it is the cheaper Model Y. The manual steering adjustment, that's new information, but not a surprise. And the lack of bioweapon defense mode, same thing. It's new information, not a surprise. As far as the price goes, I am going to just politely veer from Drive Tesla Canada's opinion here, very respectfully, in that I'm going to take this price as at face value for right now. I'm just going to, if this was in the source code, could Tesla have intentionally bumped it up higher? They could have. I wouldn't put it past them to sort of set themselves up for an under-promise, over-deliver situation should that information from the source code leak, as it has. But for now, I'm going to take it at face value and figure that this vehicle is $40,000, $39,990. The only other big unknown right now then is the range. Put me down, if we're taking bets, put me down in the 270 to 280 range. That's where I think it's going to land. And by the way, another prediction that I didn't get right. I thought I was feeling pretty good that, and not because anybody, not because any little birdies told me, but just my own gut. I just thought for sure, or that there was a real good chance that Tesla was going to announce the Model Y Standard right on October 1st. Start, just overcome that tax credit. People see a more affordable version, the orders flow in, and that would help counter the loss of the federal tax credit. It did not get announced on October 1st. Instead, as I was saying earlier in this podcast, it's certainly in play that we might get one new Model Y variant for each of the next 3 or 4 quarters, starting right now in Q4 with the new Model Y Performance. So again, as I was saying earlier, will the Model Y Standard be the Q1 launch, or will Tesla hold it for later? Well, I guess I'll say tune in next week, or maybe next quarter, depending. Hopefully, but tune in next week anyway, because you enjoy listening to the podcast. But there's one other piece of this that's a fun little exclamation point on this whole thing. There is a post going around on X with 3 photographs of a supposed Model Y Standard without any camouflage or covering on it. So it is running around naked. And these photos don't look photoshopped. They don't look AI generated. And it was allegedly spotted near Giga Texas. Furthermore, it matches the render that was pulled from the source code on the Tesla.com website, because there's a little render of it. And it's Sure, it's got little very narrow, thin headlights, no light bar up front. Like it matches. So Tesla appears to have been driving one around publicly in without any covering, which is seemingly kind of unlike them. I'm not quite sure what the story is there. Maybe we'll find that story out at some point once this thing becomes officially official. And I'll tell you, until I saw the render from the source code to basically confirm the photographs, I really was doubting it. There were three reasons, because it was like, well, one, the Model Y Standard that was photographed had a Florida license plate on it, where you would expect it would have a Texas manufacturer license plate on it or a California manufacturer license plate on it. Number two, it appeared to still have a glass roof rather than a body roof, or you couldn't get a super clear look at the roof, but it's kind of still looked like the glass roof, which again we know the Model Y Standard will not have. And then three, it looked like in the picture, in fact, actually, sorry, it is for sure, because I have the photos right here. Where are they? Let me pull them up. So I'm going to post these, and I'll tell you where to find them in a second if you want to take a look at these. Here we go. Why? Yes, the one that was photographed in Austin had the 19-inch cross-flow wheels on it, rather than the 18-inch aperture wheels that we now know are going to come with this thing. So those three things had me, I was like, this must be fake. It must be some like really good Photoshop job or something. But once it matched the render that was in the source code, it was pretty clear that like, nope, it's real. So it is real. And I know it's tough for me to just describe this and talk about it without you being able to see it. So if you want to see the pictures, I'm sure you can just search for them online, but I'm going to post them on my Patreon just with the regular, like, public version of the episode, so that, again, you don't have to be giving me a dime on Patreon. Just, if you want to see them, you can stop by patreon.com/Tesla podcast, and I will post the pictures with this episode, so you can take a look at them. And the photo credit, by the way, goes to Ryan Mabel on X. That's who posted these and presumably took them as well. If in fact they were taken by somebody else, I apologize. That's all the information I have. But I'm gonna. So if you happen to be, either pause the podcast and pull them up, or if you happen to be looking at them right now, or you've already looked at them, I'm gonna give you my hot take on the design here. And that hot take is this: I think I like the look of it, at least the front of it, because there are pictures of the front and the back. The back looks fine. It doesn't have the light bar across the back, but otherwise it looks identical. It's got the same taillights. But the front, I like the look of the front better than I do the regular new Model Y, with an asterisk, non-performance. I like the look of the Performance Y the most. I think the added aggressive styling tweaks to the new Model Y Performance put it on top style-wise for me. But I'm telling you, I really like the look of the standard Model Y better than the long-range versions. I think it looks better without the light bar. And I'm not hating on the light bar, but I'm also not hating on the light bar, because so many cars now, particularly so many crossover SUVs, are doing the front light bar thing. And the reason why it's not just that they deleted the light bar up front, but it's that the headlights, I mean, they're not identical to the daytime running lights / turn signal assembly that's on the regular long range Model Ys. It's a little bit taller because it's got a whole headlight assembly in it, which again, the Otherwise, it's just a running light on the long range Y. But it's like a nice, it's a little Model 3-ish on the headlight. Definitely not identical. It's not the same headlight by any stretch, but I just think it looks really good. I like it better. So take a look for yourself, whether it's on my Patreon page or somewhere else online, and see what you think of the styling of the front end of the Model Y Standard. I've got one more news story for you, but I got carried away. I lost track of time, and I need to mention my friends at XCare. So yes, Accelerate Auto, makers of the XCare extended warranty option. It's built exclusively for EVs. They've really rethought the whole extended warranty thing from the ground up, not just in terms of the policy, but in terms of the purchasing experience, how customizable it is. That's the difference between Tesla's extended warranty and Accelerate Auto's. Is the XCare plan is totally customizable. So again, if you want to do like just 2 more years, you're thinking, I might, the warranty's up and I'd like to just stay protected, but I'm probably only going to keep it a couple more years. Okay, great. Do a 2-year, 25,000 mile extended warranty. If you're in it for the long haul, do 7 years and 84,000 more miles if you want to, or anywhere in between. That's the really nice part with the XCare extended warranty option for your EV. By the way, if you just want to, if you don't want to worry about the kind of basics of the car, and you just want to cover those critical and expensive high voltage battery and drive unit components, your vehicle may qualify for that coverage as well. Again, either separately, like just that, or rolling that into a complete warranty, extended warranty package. And because you're a Ride the Lightning listener, you get $100 off when you select XCare's one-time payment option. Use the discount code LIGHTNING. Go to xcare.com. That's XCARE.com. Promo code LIGHTNING for $100 off when you select XCare's one-time payment option. Check them out. I've got one more news story for you this week, and it's another Tesla story. Tesla has revealed the future of FSD visualizations through a new patent. And by visualizations, I don't mean the ones that show up to the end user, us, on our screens. I mean the way the car sees the world. I saw this on the Tesla Motors Reddit, and it was posted by a user with the username of unfiltered_rabbit01, who wrote, Tesla filed a patent on September 11th, 2025. And by the way, there was a screenshot image from the patent as well. So this is legit. Called Artificial Intelligence Modeling Techniques for Vision-Based High-Fidelity Occupancy Determination and Assisted Parking Applications. It's a mouthful, I realize. Anyway, to continue the post. It describes a high-fidelity occupancy network that uses signed distance fields to build detailed 3D reconstructions of the environment using only cameras. This will replace current FSD visualizations with more realistic, high-resolution renderings and enable major improvements to auto park, summon, and a future feature called Banish. The system divides the world into voxels and predicts exact distances to surfaces, allowing it to identify spaces, markings, and objects with far greater accuracy. Or in short, Tesla's new patent shows a next-generation 3D occupancy system for FSD, enabling more advanced auto park and summon features. At the same time, Tesla launched the updated Model Y Performance in the US with temporary access. Wait a minute, that's a copy-paste from something else. Oh wait, no, it's not. Smart summon upgrades coming in FSD version 40. I threw myself off there for a moment. Anyway, let's get back to the topic at hand, which is this new way of FSD seeing the world. So my question is this, and I presume the answer is yes, by the way, is this where the 10x higher parameter count that Elon has talked about comes from? That was the first thing I thought of when I read this description and looked at the screenshot. By the way, if you still need a bit more help making sense of what I just read to you, and I honestly did, I thought there was a really helpful comment, kind of an Eli 5, explain it like I'm 5 comment, from another Reddit user in that thread, whose username is Marks22, who said in response to this post, quote, "It's really just photogrammetry with AI. A moving camera, even at slow speeds, creates vertical separation with depth data, depth from motion, in the same way we create it with stereo vision. Put simply, it can see what parts of the scene are moving faster, closer, and slower, further, and assign each pixel in 3D space. It has the added ability to simultaneously add, quote, textures, like painted lines and words or signs. The big advancement here is that it's combined with a neural network. So instead of just pure photogrammetry, it's inferring shapes based on its extensive training data. For example, it may see only a third of a car. It can infer the rest of the car because it can deduce it's a 2024 Model Y and fill in the missing data with that knowledge. And that's really cool. So thank you to both of those Tesla Motors Reddit users for all of that great information and layman's analysis. And speaking of layman analysis, to my non-engineer brain, what this sounds like is a really, really smart way to handle a camera-only system. And the reason I say it that way is because I'm not trying to sit here and say that the camera system's perfect, right? And that this completely solves any and all FSD scenarios. No system is perfect. There are limitations to any system. Cameras certainly suffer in harsh weather conditions. LiDAR systems have bulky, expensive hardware, etc. So every system has its challenges. My point is that for Tesla's choice, the choice they have made to have a camera-only system, this really sounds like what is perhaps the best way to get the absolute most out of it. And the more I think about it, the more that this does maybe sound like it is version 14, because Elon had also recently talked about having to retrain the whole system for version 14, and this architectural change would be a good reason to have to do that. So if indeed that's the case, this gets me even more fired up for version 14. And maybe this is where the "your car will feel sentient by the end of the year" statement from Elon comes from. Although, by the way, if you need even just a little bit more excitement about version 14 of FSD before I wrap this story up, and in fact wrap up the news segment for this week, there's a little bit more, but you got to go on a short walk with me. So, okay, you ready? Tim Urban of Wait But Why fame posted on X saying this: "Went to the mall today, and in typical form, I failed to note where I parked. Instead of looking for the car, I tried something crazy and summoned the car from the Tesla app. 30 seconds later, the empty car emerged from one of the lanes and pulled up in front of me. We live in the future." End quote. And then, again, I said it was a walk. Another person named Mark Valorian responded to Tim saying, quote, "This works very well in a surface parking lot. In a multi-level garage, where it is most useful, you're going to be extraordinarily frustrated." End quote. And then, we're arriving at our destination now, Elon Musk replied to that saying, quote, "Not for long." So the folks at Not a Tesla App, who I've cited here a number of times before, they kindly added some context to what Elon's talking about here. And they said, "So, how exactly does Tesla overcome GPS inaccuracies and determine garage level without using barometric sensors? To operate autonomously, your Tesla will have to rely almost exclusively on its cameras to navigate using a complex process known as simultaneous localization and mapping, or SLAM, to build a real-time map of its surroundings. If you've heard of SLAM before, it's the same technique used to map small and tightly constrained areas. It's the same process your robotic vacuum does in your home. This usage of SLAM will have to be far more precise and less forgiving, as there are no walls you want your car to bounce off of like your vacuum. Your vehicle will need to build a real-time map of its surroundings, understand them, and determine which directions it is allowed to turn and which direction the exit is located. It must also account for vertical travel via ramps, tight corners, obstructive pillars, and unpredictable pedestrian traffic. Thank you to the Not at Tesla app folks for that handy explanation. So I'm fired up. I was already fired up, again, with my robotaxi experience here in the Bay Area. Perhaps, maybe, just maybe, by the time that I go to record next week's episode, some of you out there maybe will have version 14. We're getting close, for sure. And that's everything in another super busy week. A lot of big stories this week in the world of Tesla news. Let's move straight into the Ride the Lightning hotline now. If you've got a question, comment, or discussion topic for the podcast, I welcome and invite you to call in and share that question, comment, or discussion topic with me so that I may consider it for a future episode. There are two easy ways to call in. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software and then record it. Please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less, and then send that file to me at teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can take that same 90-second or less call and actually call in and leave a message on the Ride the Lightning hotline. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's a toll-free number. That number is 1-888-989-8752. That number again, 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special out there with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. We start this week with Jeff from Rhode Island.
Hey Ryan, and all the Tesla fans out there. Jeff calling in from Rhode Island, and I'm hoping this call makes it to some of the Tesla employee listeners out there. So in the beginning of each winter, we get an email from Tesla informing us about how to improve winter weather driving and what to do for overnight winter weather when it's expected. All that is simply usually putting the wipers in service mode and making sure the mirrors do not fold in. That's pretty simple to do, but a lot of times you might forget to do it if you're not sure winter weather's coming. So maybe for the next holiday update, there could be a button somewhere in the app, maybe in the climate or some type of option within the app that would allow you to just one touch button, put it right into winter weather expected mode. And that could be in the UI on the screen itself in the vehicle. But that way, if it's on the app, and you realize you forgot to do it, you can just hit that button. You don't have to walk back out to the car. It'll put the wipers in service mode. It'll extend the mirrors out, and then you'll be good in the morning when you go out there and your vehicle is covered in snow. I'm sure, Ryan, you don't have to deal with this, but I know there are a lot of drivers that are impacted by winter weather. This seems like it would be an easy update, and I think much appreciated from a lot of us. So let's hope it shows up in the next software update prior to next winter. Ryan, thanks again for everything you do. Appreciate it. Take care.
Fantastic suggestion, Jeff. You're right that I don't have to deal with this, but I'm probably in the minority of Tesla owners on that. I love your idea/request here, honestly. It's smart. It's safety-oriented. It'd be a great convenience for Tesla owners, and again, with the caveat that I'm not a software engineer, it seems to me, a layperson, that it would be pretty easy to implement since it would just be activating a bunch of stuff the car can already do all at once. So may we speak this one into existence. Jeff, thank you so much for calling in. Next up this week, here's Bill from Wisconsin responding to 2 or 3 shows ago when I talked about that new paint color that was dug out by Green the Only in the firmware. Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, Ryan, it's Bill from Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. Long time no call. Say, just listening to the latest episode, you're talking about Silk Road Silver showing up in the latest app code. Here's my thinking on that, speculation alert. The Silk Road, of course, was the trade route in, the Middle Ages or whatever it was, that led from China to Europe, I believe. So I'm wondering if maybe Silk Road Silver is a China-specific color that they're going to offer for the cars that they're manufacturing there. Like I said, just speculating. Give Daisy, Lily, and everyone else loves for me. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for your call, Bill. I would say that your speculation is perfectly valid and could easily prove to be correct. I was not aware of that history, so number one, thank you for teaching me something new today. And maybe, wait. What if Silk Road Silver is, no. I guess I was going to say, what if that's their in-app code name for the exclusive Model Y L color, Starlight Gold, over in China, but that doesn't make sense. It'd just be called Starlight Gold in the app. So yeah, you know what? Maybe it's going to be another Model Y L color to complement Starlight Gold. I mean, it is, after all, Silk Road Silver. Starlight Gold, Silk Road Silver, Similar to how, S and X have their own silver, their own lunar silver that's different from Quicksilver on 3 and the Y. So maybe the L will get its own unique silver in addition to that Starlight Gold. Thank you so much, Bill, for your call. Take care, my friend, and I'm sure we will chat again soon. Next up this week, here's Stefan from Monterey.
Hey, Ryan, it's Stefan from Monterey. I was listening to your show when you were speaking about the Panasonic battery design and the increased range that would be possible on the Model Ys, and you were suggesting that Tesla will probably opt to just put in less cells and keep the range the same. And I respectfully hope you are wrong, but I'm thinking you might very well be right. But I do have this food for thought for you. Rivian will be coming out with the R2 next year, and that's going to be a direct competitor to the Model Y. And if Tesla could make a car for the same price that had an extra, 90 to 100 miles of range, and you would get 400 miles of range, it would really set itself apart from the R2. So they might consider that as well. Just thinking about that. Thanks again for all you do. Bye.
Stefan, it's always a pleasure to hear from you. I certainly see and respect where you're coming from here. I think it's a valid point. I suppose it will depend on what kind of range that Rivian brings to the table on the R2. I went and looked it up because I wasn't quite sure what they've announced so far. And all we have to go on from Rivian directly as of now, in terms of officially from them, is that they said all configurations of the R2 will have over 300 miles of range. And honestly, I think they're probably wise to not make any more specific promises than that just yet, because things can change, as we saw with Cybertruck. But if they can bring a range figure to the table that is notably better than what the Model Y is offering, then I would agree that Tesla would have more motivation to just use that new Panasonic battery manufacturing tech to instead of removing cells, just leave them in and handily beat the Rivian on the range. However, we know, or at least we're pretty confident, at least I would say I'm pretty confident in saying that the R2 is not going to match the R1's range. It's almost certainly that's going to be the case, right? And the R1 has a 400-mile option. And the just market reality there is there's got to be some separation between R1 and R2 in terms of market segment and pricing. You know how it goes, right? That's just how the business is. So all that is to say that while I love your enthusiasm and I hope you're right and that I'm wrong, I would honestly be pretty surprised if Rivian is able to put sufficient range pressure on the Model Y with the R2 to the point that Tesla decides to choose range over cost savings on the Model Y once those new Panasonic battery cells come down the assembly line in the next couple of years. But you know what? Part of the fun of all of this that we're here talking about is that the technology is rapidly evolving, and so we can't really rule any possibility out either. That's the fun part. So thank you so much for your call. It is always appreciated. Next, here's Jonathan from Virginia responding to, a few shows ago I was talking about a possible pack size reduction on the Roadster from the original 200 kilowatt hours that was announced back in 2017. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hey, Ryan, this is Jonathan from Virginia. You mentioned a couple of recent podcasts about possibly Tesla reducing the pack size on the new Roadster, and I was under the impression that had gotten set not for the highway range, because you're right, 600 miles is wildly excessive for highway range, but that had been driven by the performance and endurance they wanted on the track. So unless they're rethinking their track metrics, I wouldn't expect much of a shrink in pack size on the Roadster. But I guess we all look forward to seeing what it actually turns out to be. Have a good day. Bye.
Hey, Jonathan. Well, as you know, I am always happy to talk about the new Roadster, so thank you for calling in. You might be right, is the short version. As you know, thermal management matters as much or more than the actual kilowatt hour capacity when it comes to endurance on a track. And the current gen Model S Plaid seems to have largely solved that on the thermal management side. So the new Roadster will no doubt have a generational improvement in thermal management over what's in the 4-year-old system in the Plaids now. So if we assume, and I know what assuming does, but if we reasonably presume, how about that the new Roadster won't overheat, not just battery-wise, but I should add also brake-wise, then I think it's a question of how many laps does Tesla want the new Roadster to be capable of doing. And based on what Rimac has done with the Navara, I am still of the very, very amateur opinion that 200 kilowatt hours is going to be massive overkill. But again, you might be right. And I hope we find out soon, because guess what? Now that it's October, it means that if Elon's most epic demo ever indeed happens by the end of the year, that means we've got less than 2 months to go until we see the new Roadster again for the first time. And the first time seeing it in 8 years. I cannot wait. I really hope that that's going to happen this year, but we'll see. I've got time for one more call this week. It's another response to something I said. It's Jay in Los Angeles. I was talking about keeping my new car for 10 years or more, and Jay wanted to respond to that. So take it away, Jay.
Hi, Ryan. This is Jay from Los Angeles. I'm calling to ask about a comment you made on last week's show about your plans to keep your current Tesla model for 10 years. I'm curious how realistic that is, given how quickly Tesla vehicles evolve. Every couple of years we see big leaps in hardware, software, safety, and features, things that make today's cars feel dated pretty fast. If, say, by 2030 we're on hardware 7 with safety that's dramatically better, upgrading might even feel like the responsible choice. And since Teslas tend to hold their value, a trade-up at marginal cost could be financially pretty feasible. I'd like to hear your perspective on how you balance the excitement of new technology with the idea of keeping the same Tesla for a full decade. Thanks again for the great show, and I look forward to hearing your response.
Thank you for your call, Jay. Based on how things are looking right now, since Elon and Tesla have been kind enough to be openly talking about AI 5 and AI 6 already, my best guess is that 2030 will be right around the time that Tesla's introducing AI 6. which will indeed be way better than the AI4 in my car right now. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, the decision about how long to keep a car very much varies from person to person and family to family for 1,000 different reasons. For us, quite honestly, it's just unlikely to make economic sense based on our income and where we're not people that really in our spot should be getting cars, every few years, as nice as that would be. And I'm not judging anybody. There's no judgment. This is talking about what works for me and for us. But I will say this: by 2030, I will have hopefully the good fortune of being a 3 Tesla household. Should my next gen Roadster arrive by 2030, which, gosh, I hope it does. Which means the miles that I drive will be spread between 3 cars instead of 2. And my wife, she doesn't drive too much. She drives less than me, and I've been doing about 11,000 miles a year or so. So the other part of this too is if we look at what a 10-year-old Tesla looks like today, that is a 2015 Model S. And a 2015 Model S is still a really great car. Sure, range has come a long way. Obviously, the driver assistance system, FSD, has made exponential progress, although a 2015 S still has Autopilot 1, and while Autopilot 1 definitely can't hold a candle anymore to what the cars can do now, it's still honestly a pretty rock-solid and reliable highway-only system, at least. It's far more likely, I think, that our 2018 Model 3 will cycle out before my 2024 does, which may seem obvious, but you were kind of calling in about the 2024. And so that's probably 5 years away, maybe more. I'm not sure. We'll just have to see how things go. At which point we would have, hopefully, if life is good, something new and something even more awesome. And then my 2024 Model 3 Performance, that's the new car now, would become the old car. So we're very fortunate. We're in a really good place. It is a privilege, very much a privilege for us to have 2 Teslas, and they're both currently and still going to be great cars for the foreseeable future, even though, yes, you are correct, there will be absolutely even better versions of the cars and of the Autopilot hardware by the time we get to 2030, which is only 5 years from now. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you calling in. Thank you to everybody that kindly took the time to call in this past week. If I didn't get to your call this week, I will hopefully get to it on next week's show. I will do more of your Ride the Lightning calls then. And if you have something you want to say, a question, comment, discussion topic, again, I gave you the 2 easy call-in methods and instructions at the top of this segment, so refer back to that. As for what's happening with me and my new car, the Soul of Adventure, well, I got my first annual registration renewal in the mail today. California usually sends it out about 2 months early, and sure enough, it's exactly when it arrived. I got it in December, so here at the beginning of October, the renewal notice has arrived. And I have to say, it is a bit worse than I expected. Not like stratospherically worse, but it's a little bit worse than I thought it was going to be. $854. It will go down each year, but man, that definitely still stings. And the reason is because I paid considerably less, either before incentives or after incentives, no matter which way you want to look at it, for that car than I did for my 2018 Model 3 Performance, which I actually went back and checked my records, and the first registration renewal for that car back in 2019 was $774. So clearly the fees have gone up over the last, 6 years here. I guess, hey, nothing to be done about it. It is, if I'm going to live in California, which I love it here, so that's just how it's going to be. But, that bill did not feel good to pay. That one was tough. How about something more fun? An entertainment recommendation for you this week. It's a game I will be honest, I haven't played it yet, but My coworkers, my colleagues all say it's excellent. And that game is Ghost of Yotei for PlayStation 5, the sequel to Ghosts of Tsushima from a few years ago. So if you've got a PS5, you like open world games, action games, Ghost of Yotei definitely seems to be a good one. Time now for your Tesla Pro Tip of the Week, and it comes from longtime listener Paul from Boston.
Hi, Ryan. This is Paul from Boston. I've been listening since episode 1 and love the show, and I'm calling in with a pro tip. I hope I can explain the issue well. It's a little hard to describe, but as we all know, you can push the steering wheel scroll buttons left and right to engage various functions. For example, while listening to a podcast, you can push the left scroll wheel left or right to skip forward and back in the show. But I find that when I use the flat of my thumb, more often than not, I accidentally press down on the button, which pauses the audio. I recently noticed that there's a shallow groove that separates the rubbery topmost part of the wheel from the outer sphere of the wheel, for lack of a better term. And if I place my fingernail in that groove and then move the button left or right, it works every time. Anyway, I hope that helps. Thanks for the great, informative show, and give your doggos a belly rub and a scratch behind the ears for me.
Paul, I will happily pass along those pets. In fact, here, Lily is right down here. You get the scratch behind the ears, and then Daisy, you'll have to get the other pets later. Those are from Paul, by the way. If you want to thank Paul, Lily, just that's who you send the thank you note to. Anyway, Paul, first of all, seriously, huge thank you for listening to every episode of this podcast. Because at this point, after 10 plus years and 500 plus episodes, that's probably a pretty exclusive club that you're a part of. So seriously, thank you for your continued support. Now, as to your pro tip, I'll be honest, I love it. I mean, this is exactly the kind of helpful hint or workaround or suggestion that can make your fellow listeners' Tesla experience better, which is exactly what this pro tip segment of the podcast is all about. So I am happy to air this in the hope that it helps some of your fellow listeners out. Paul, thank you again. I do appreciate it. And if anybody else out there has a good Tesla pro tip of the week or EV pro tip of the week, please do call in with it. Send it my way. Use either of the 2 easy call-in methods that I gave to you at the top of the last segment. And this is the part of the show. Every week I play one pro tip of the week, so I can always use more good ones to throw into my backlog. So do send it in if you've got one. As I wind down this episode, let me tell you real quick about a few friends of Ride the Lightning that can hopefully be of use to you sooner or later. Starting with abstractocean.com. You Cybertruck owners are going to want to check out the pre-cut Expel protective film pieces for all of the non-stainless parts of the car. Those are apparently big sellers, I'm told. I guess Cybertruck owners who've picked those up, they're great. So that's definitely highly recommended. If you've got any of the Teslas, they've got an awesome 4th generation custom fit tempered glass screen protector made from what is basically Gorilla Glass. It's aluminosilicate glass, same stuff that Corning uses for Gorilla Glass. And again, it's custom fit, custom cut for all the Teslas. That's a really popular item. They've also got lots of great lighting kits for both the interior and exterior of the car, including puddle lights. They sell the same puddle lights that Tesla has for less money. So if you're interested in those, get them at Abstract Ocean, because not only are they cheaper just right off the bat, but I've got a 15% off coupon code for you if you're a first-time Abstract Ocean customer. So after you've been to abstractocean.com, after you've clicked on whichever vehicle you own, after you've added everything you like to your online shopping cart, when you get to checkout, use the coupon code RTL Podcast. That's all one word, no spaces, RTL Podcast. That coupon code goes in at checkout to get 15% off of your first order. Thank you again to abstractocean.com for continuing to offer that to the Ride the Lightning audience. There is also a discount available for the Snap Plate and the newer, stronger Snap Plate Plus, available for all of the Teslas as well. Yes, including the new Model Y, to account for its lower front bumper camera. Go to everyamp.com/RTL. Choose which vehicle you have. Grab the proper snap plate for it. Just decide whether you want the regular one that's designed for safety, where it'll break away, sacrifice itself in a worst case scenario like a parking accident or a car wash. Or if you want to go with the Snap Plate Plus, which is strength optimized with hardened features for maximum strength. Both of them have the signature minimalist aesthetic, which I love. It blends in beautifully with the Tesla front end. Both of them, either way you go, they're made from recycled, made in the USA plastics with stainless steel reinforcements. So anytime, whatever you're ready to go there, use the coupon code RTL for a discount. So again, the website, which you can also click on the link in the episode description, everyamp.com/RTL, and don't forget to add the coupon code RTL as well. Meanwhile, over at Immaculate Reflections, if you are in or going to be in the greater San Francisco Bay Area, boy, do I encourage you to reach out to Immaculate Reflections. Bring your car by. You got to book an appointment. Bring your car over there, and maybe you want to do some paint correction to get the finish looking as good as it possibly can. Maybe you want to do ceramic coating because you're sick of waxing it twice a year, because ceramic coating will last 5+ years, as it has on our 2018 Model 3. Maybe you want to do some paint protection film on the front end of the car, where the bulk of debris, rock chips, what have you, are gonna impact the paint. Maybe you want to do the whole car, like I did, because I'm a crazy person who just wants my paint protected. I want it all protected, that beautiful ultra red. Anyway, whatever professional detailing services you want to do, they will take great care of you at Immaculate Reflections. I promise you that. Go to the website to learn more and to reach out. There's a contact form there. Go to irdetailing.com. Oh, and they mentioned that you're a Ride the Lightning listener, and there is a nice discount waiting for you on any services that you do end up having done there, which is great. Thank you so much to Immaculate Reflections. My Patreon, I mentioned it closer to the top of the podcast. I'll mention it again here real quick. Go to patreon.com/Tesla podcast. This is how you can choose to support the podcast if you like. And I hope at some point you might feel motivated to do so. I'm here every single week. I've got over 10 years of receipts to prove it. This is a free podcast. It'll always be free. It's always been free. But I'm able to continue here on your support. So that is just hugely impactful in a positive way in my life and my family's life. So you can support the podcast starting at just $5 a month, and that'll get you an ad-free, early access ad-free episode every single week as a thank you. If you are kind enough to go to that most popular $10 per month tier, there is not only the early access to the ad-free episode every week, but you also get the access to the entire past, present, and future catalog of those weekly lightning round mini episodes that I do over on Patreon, like I was talking about earlier in the podcast. So just visit the page. Again, all the information's there. I should add, too, that there is if month to month, if you're like, I don't really want to be billed every month for this, there is an annual pledge option where you can support me, just pay once for an entire year of support. And if you're kind enough to do that, not only will you get all the perks and bonuses that you should get at that tier for the entire year, but you will also get a 10% discount on your pledge as, again, a thank you from me to you for kindly extending that full year of support. You can follow this podcast on any of the big podcast services, which is basically, we've got Apple Podcasts, we've got Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, TuneIn, pretty much all the big ones. Just search Ride the Lightning Tesla. You should see this podcast come right up in the search results. Just click follow, and that way you will receive a push notification on your device anytime a new episode drops, which in my case is every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, unless, of course, you're on Patreon with me, in which case you'll get it as soon as it's done and uploaded, which it's 9:10 p.m. Pacific here now. I've got, by the time I edit and upload this, it'll probably be between 9:30 and 9:45. So, West Coast folks, any maybe Hawaii folks can listen to it here on Friday night. Everybody else can wake up to it first thing Saturday morning. Anyway, the last piece here is mentioning my social media. You can follow me on X and or on Instagram. I have the same username on both, and that username is DMC_Ryan. My podcast email address, which you can send me a note about EV-related things anytime, is teslapodcast@gmail.com. And before I call it a night here and finish this up and look forward to the monthly Patreon Zoom Hangout that's happening tomorrow as I'm recording this, it's this weekend, let me say hello and thank you to all of the top-tier Patreon supporters that get invited to that monthly Patreon Zoom Hangout. A reminder, though, too, I keep a list. Anybody, it's not just the top-tier backers, they get invited every month to the Patreon Zoom Hangout. But anybody that makes a new or upgraded pledge in the course of a month gets a one-time thank you invite to whenever the next Patreon Zoom Hangout is. Just trying to, again, say thank you, build a little community here, community within the community, which we have a great time on the Patreon Zoom Hangout calls every month, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow's. So why don't I start for once with the grandfathered-in Plaid level supporters. These very kind folks continue to support me at the Plaid level, even though officially the Plaid level is no more. So huge thanks to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla owners of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk in quotes, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado. Next up, the Maximum Plaid backers. Big thanks to Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Damon Klein, Jeff Brown, Jerry Slinger, Kenneth Corbett, Brian Bertoglio, Kim Bay, Troy Sievers, Nick Jacoby, Chip Hooper, Matt Chinander, Robert Moran, Rob, and Christopher Mann. And finally, an extra big thanks goes out to the Roadster in Space tier backers. These folks get all the perks, including one last one at the tippy top of the pyramid on Patreon, which is a monthly one-on-one hangout with me, should they elect to utilize it. And we always have a good time on those. So thank you to Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, American Home Contractors, Doug Carey, Michael Gallo, and Tony Figueroa. I'm not sure, I think she's probably far enough away where Daisy's loud snoring is not coming through on the mic, but if you heard some wood being a tree being sawed in the background. It was the Boxer snoozing away over there. Anyway, I can't quite snooze yet, even though I'm pretty ready to. I've still got to edit and upload this for the Patreon folks, and then I got to go do the dishes after dinner. It's can't let those sit till morning. So still a couple things left on the to-do list, but very happy to have completed episode 531 of Ride the Lightning for you. I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for sticking with me. If you're still listening and hearing me right now, I do want to thank you because your time is so valuable, and I appreciate that you would choose to spend some of it with me talking about EVs, talking about Tesla stuff here each and every week. Happy electric motoring, my friends, and I'll see you back here next week.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.